Daniel Jeremiah is one of my good friends. And Daniel and I mean, both former scouts, both now in the opportunity to be in media and take this drafting stuff very, very seriously. And he did a mock draft. And Zach, I'm really going to lean on you on this one.
Okay.
Because I'm going to need your help. Because Daniel at 12 took Ashton Jeanty, okay? But I want to go through who was taken afterwards.
All right.
And I want to know your opinion on, would that been a guy that you would have absolutely considered? Or I'm going to pass on that guy. Or is it a situation where maybe you would have done something completely different, maybe another position. But so Ashton Jeanty on Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, first one, is the pick for the Cowboys at 12. Okay, the Dolphins pick at 13 behind you.
Okay.
He hasn't taken Kelvin Banks, the tackle, tackle, guard, wherever you want to play him. I think, a lot of people have him playing tackle. I think I could probably play him at guard, and I think I'd probably have a pretty damn good player there. Would you consider Kelvin Banks at Dallas's spot at 12?
I'd absolutely consider it. I like Banks more than you do. I think Banks can play tackle. I think if you want to kick him inside to guard, maybe he is dominant. I have concerns about just assuming a guy that's been a left tackle his entire career at Texas is just going to be able to play right guard. If that's what you need him to do, it's a totally other side, and it's a new position.
Right.
So we've heard Zach Martin talk about it like it's learning how to rewipe the other side, the other way, right?
Sure.
It's not, I don't know that's it. I'm not doing that. If I'm drafting Banks, I'm keeping him on the left side.
Okay.
And that's either I'm kicking Tyler out to left tackle,
right,
and Banks can kick inside to guard, or he's my starting left tackle and I'm moving Guyton over to the other side.
So Booker, Alabama then.
Booker, Alabama's a plug-and-play right guard to me.
Okay. See, this is why I feel like, do you feel like Booker, Alabama right guard could play left tackle?
No, I think he's a true guard.
See, this is why I would take Banks.
I'd take Donovan Jackson.
I love Donovan Jackson from Ohio State.
That guy I know can play guard and tackle.
There you go. Yeah, that's a really good point.
But he's the guy that I'm kind of becoming more and more like. If I got to take a lineman, he's the lineman I'm taking.
Let me ask you this: with Jackson from Ohio State, would you consider, is he and I'm going to go through a scenario where, like you and I did earlier. One of our listeners asked us a question about a trade back at 16 to Arizona, and I was going to ask you: would you consider Jackson at 16 if you move back?
Yes, absolutely, I would.
Okay,
because I think he's safe. I think he's a safe player.
Yeah, Dawson, this is a kid that played left guard, and then when Simmons got hurt at Ohio State, they kicked him out to left tackle.
They won a national championship.
I love this idea of taking an offensive lineman with position flex.
Yeah. Okay. But you'd be totally on board, and you're right. You have first-round grade on Banks, right?
I do.
Okay. Okay. Indianapolis takes Jahdae Barron, excuse me.
Okay.
Is that too high for you at 4? Would you consider him at 12?
I'd consider him at 12. I don't know if the Cowboys would consider him at 12, and I would not consider him over Ashton Jeanty. I think Genty's a better player.
Okay. Atlanta takes, with 15, they take Will Johnson. And let me read you what's said about Will Johnson, and this is coming from Daniel Jeremiah. And if you remember, Will Johnson's a corner from Michigan.
Corner from Michigan, 6'2", long arms.
Yeah.
But just doesn't run well for me.
Okay, here we go. He was one of these guys, Dawson. Will Johnson was talked about as a top 2, 3 type of a player when this whole process started.
Really?
Now he's starting to slide into the 15 spot, could be even lower on some boards. And I'll read you why. Johnson is the most polarizing player around the league. He provides size and production, but some questions emerge about his tackling and top-end speed in 2024. Doesn't sound like a corner.
I like Barron more than Will Johnson.
I do too.
I actually put Morrison, the Notre Dame corner.
Yeah.
He's ahead of Johnson on my board, too.
Yeah.
And I could be, this might be the player I am so wrong about, but I don't see the Will Johnson love.
I am worried. I am worried that, and I initially did not see this guy run well at all. And if you watch him cover Marvin Harrison from 2023, you're like, well, okay. All right, I see what you're doing.
Which
here.
is, I mean, that's impressive.
That's impressive.
It is.
It's very impressive tape. But I do worry about his height at 6'2" playing, and I do worry about his lack of speed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the ball skills, like I've seen some comps to Diggs with him, and he was productive. I think he had 9 interceptions over the course of his college career. I think Barron's got better ball skills.
I think Barron has much better ball skills than this kid. I think Barron moves better. But you could watch Barron late in this playoff and, there's some games where he's really, really good, and then there's some games like you see in breaking routes on him and stuff like that. And that kind of, me, I love, you give me a corner that can cover in breaking routes.
Which is hard to do. A lot of these guys will give those up. But do you tackle?
Do you tackle when it happens?
And Barron will tackle.
Yeah. You
can't have big red flags like that on a player at 12 at this point.
Will Johnson, Will Johnson doesn't do anything for you?
I'm scared of him.
I am too. And I'm starting to see him slide further and further and further down the board. And I wonder now if the media scouts are catching up with,
There's just a lot of later corners that I think you could get that are going to be good. Kobe Bryant, the corner from Kansas, I'm a big fan of. He could be skinny guy. I get it, but I love his game. Thomas from Florida State, Wanye's brother.
Yeah.
That's a good player right there. I like Parrish, the Kansas State kid, but he's small. I get it. There's some knocks on these guys. But when you're not drafting in the first 2 rounds, you're going to take a guy that's probably 5'10", but he runs well.
Yeah. Okay, we get down to Arizona spot, and this is where you and I worked on. We had a question on Love of the Star today. Would you trade down from 12 to 16 and take Arizona's pick? That would be number pick 70. That would be 76 or 78, which Dallas's pick was.
Cowboys picked 76.
Right.
So they got 78 from Arizona.
So, Dawson, you would get picks in the 3rd round. You would get picks 70, your own pick at 76, and Arizona's pick at 78. So you're getting actually 4 players inside the top 80 players in the draft.
You got to do it. I think you look at your needs at positions that don't have a high value on them that can have depth.
Okay.
You talk about the defensive tackles. You look at guard. You look at linebacker. You look at safety. 3rd round is a great round to be looking at those positions, Brian. So if I can drop 4 spots, still get a player I like in the 1st round, that's mandatory.
Yeah. Okay. Wolchuk, they take Jalen Walker here with the Arizona Cardinals pick.
Ooh, sign me up.
Okay,
now
let's focus on what players are there if you drop back. Okay. So all the players ahead, they're all gone. All these players are gone ahead of you. Would you take Jalen Walker then at 16?
Yes.
Would you take Jalen Walker at 12?
I'd consider Jalen Walker at 12.
He's the linebacker from Georgia.
Weren't you fighting with Vosh about this today?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Vosh
and I think he's an edge.
Yeah.
Right? And
I think he's a linebacker.
But to me, either way, that's filling 2 needs. I need somebody else to get after the quarterback, and if the Cowboys evaluate him as an off-ball guy, you need help at linebacker too.
Vosh is telling me there's edges that are much better than this kid.
Mike Green as a better edge, but man, Walker, I like
the Ole Miss kid.
Give me Walker over. The Ole Miss kid's good. But over Pierce Jr., give me Walker from Tennessee.
See, I'm the same way. Voch and I were going at it pretty strong, and he made some really good points about, that he felt like he goes, listen, you take Walker as an edge, he's not as good as, Yuma Lennon. How do I say it?
It's a tough
Yuma Lennon.
I don't know, man.
I just
go with you.
Yeah. But Voch was all over me about it. And we had it was a whole show basically about these two players, or where you would play him at edge. Okay, but you'd be okay with him at 16.
I think Jalen Walker's just a hell of a football player.
Okay,
yeah.
How about this one? The Cincinnati at 17 takes Walter Nolan.
Okay, that'd be a pen throw for me. I'd be like, hell yes. I think the Cowboys are going to love I think they do love Walter Nolan.
See, this is
defensive tackle at Ole Miss.
This is a 3-technique defensive tackle.
Transfer from A&M.
Yeah, that plays at times really well. And then other times, Dawson, you don't see him at all.
Ooh.
So, okay, Walter Nolan. Would you, if you traded back, would you consider Walter Nolan there, Wolchuk, at 16?
I'd feel better about him there at 16 than I would at 12.
Because you picked up the extra 3?
Yes, exactly. And there is explosiveness to Nolan's game. He
scares the F out of me.
I just see a lack of consistency. But then you watch him in the Senior Bowl and those practices, he was exceptional. He really, really was.
Yeah. Man, I just didn't see enough of it, though. Okay, how about this one?
Sounds like another Tristan Hill to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about this one, Wolchuk?
He's a little better, but yeah.
18, Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan.
I'd take Grant over Nolan. And I know Michigan defensive tackle, you say, but this dude is more athletic. And I think he's got some flex.
337 pounds.
I think he's a better run defender, much better run defender than Walter Nolan is, but he does have some good pass rush ability. Honestly, I think he's going to be better at the next level than he was in Michigan.
Yeah, I tell you what, people are saying no Michigan guys here. They don't want anything.
The 2 defensive tackles this year out of Michigan are really good. And I had really Mozzie questions, okay? But these 2 guys are not that.
Okay, at 16, would you take Grant over Nolan? You said you would. How about Walker?
No, I'd take Walker.
Okay, let's go down. We got one more. We'll go one more. Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Tampa Bay, goes at 19. Would you take Jahad Walker on a trade back to Arizona at 16?
Jahad Campbell?
Campbell.
At 16, he's the best linebacker, I think, in the draft. I do have him ahead of Schlesinger from UCLA.
Yeah.
And that dude also can give you a little rushing ability, too. He's a good blitzer. They lined him up on the edge sometimes. I like Jahad Campbell. That dude's a freak athlete. And he's sideline to sideline.
Sounds like a beast to me. Problem solved.
The guys are really, really. Now, we're talking about linebackers, and I'm trying to convince everybody that, hey, you need to go spend some money on Nick Bolton. But we also talk, a little bit ago, I went through like 4 or 5 linebackers, right, that potentially are going to be free agents.
You might need 2.
I would take Campbell. I would take Campbell at 16. I would absolutely consider him at 16. I would consider Grant at 16. I don't think I would consider Walter Nolan at 16. I would pass on that. I would take Walker at 16 for sure.
I've got Walter Nolan in there.